Welcome to the Film Hub Off Script podcast, where real stories from our community come to life. The struggles, the breakthroughs, and the work it takes to keep going. We talk about the process, not just the outcome. I'm Lauren, the founder and CEO of the Film Hub, a co-working space, event space, and content creation studio where creativity meets success.
I've gotten the opportunity to see him grow and change so much in the last 5 years. He runs multiple companies, started a new business, has hired staff, got married, went through loss and financial hardships, and ran for city council and won. So our very own Jeff Fox, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, I'm glad to have you here too. So that's a lot. And a lot of changes the last 5 years that you've been through.
You can say that again. It feels like a completely different life. You know, it's been a lot of changes, a lot of movement, a lot of different things going on. I mean, even if you were to talk to me a year and a half ago, I wouldn't have even thought about running for city council. You know, if you would have talked to me 5 years ago, I wouldn't have thought about starting my own business. You know, so everything in there is new and changing and ever moving. So it's a lot of fun.
And what is your business?
So I run a couple, but the main one that I work on right now is Star Fox Media. We're a digital marketing company. We usually work with local small businesses, mom and pop shops, owner operated. The goal is basically to be kind of the one-stop shop marketing. We can be their whole marketing department so that they can kind of focus on, what they started the business to do, rather than all of the ancillary administrative stuff that goes along with it. So, I mean, there's so many really awesome, talented people out there that are like really good at their craft, but then they have to learn accounting and marketing and bookkeeping and HR and this. And so we want to take some of that off their plate so they can concentrate on what they actually love to do.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So, I mean, actually, the other company I work with is Prince Productions and Media. We're actually merging with another company. We're going to be Valkyrie Media moving forward. But it was actually similar because in that company, we did the business side of the film industry. So we partner with creative filmmakers, people who had like amazing film ideas, but didn't necessarily know the business side of things, how to raise money, how to get distribution, how to market their films, things like that. And so it kind of came from the same passion, which is working with awesome creative people and helping them succeed.
And that's kind of how we met, right? When we were building the Film Hub, we met in the film industry. And you were doing Princeberry at the time.
Yep. So the film company was first. We and I know you guys were in the film industry. You guys created your own film. You were a set designer, very talented set designer, by the way.
Thank you.
But then and so we were kind of in the same industry on the same path, kind of just next to each other. And so it was like we kept up, and I got to kind of see. I came to your film premiere and all that kind of fun stuff at your house.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that was like 7 years ago now.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was like at least.
Oh no, that was a long
It could have
time
been
ago.
10. I didn't want to say it. Yeah,
that was like 12 or 15 years ago.
So, it's
been a long
so
journey.
we've known each other for a really long time. And I know when you were talking about building this place, I was like, sign me up. I'll be your first member.
And you were.
And I was.
So what are some of the mental blocks through all of these changes that you just went through the last 5 years? Like, where did you have to really break things down, and where did you have to change your mindset?
There was a couple things that come to mind. First of all, I'm an introvert. And so, when I was working at Princeberry in the first place, I was kind of the behind the scenes marketing guy. Like I was just working for the company, but we had like, our CEO and partners were all like the faces of the company. And so I just got to sit in my room and I got to do my work and do my little strategizing and all that kind of fun stuff. And then, be done with it. And so that's kind of where I naturally fit. It's like, people are always like, oh, you like being in front of the camera? It's like, no. It's like, oh, behind the camera? I'm like, no, back in the office,
Yeah.
I was
We both like to hide.
yeah, we like,
Put us behind. Let us do our work.
and so, when I was starting the marketing company, and starting something fresh, that kind of requires you to be the face of it, and to put yourself out there and to connect with people in the community and do all that. So, I also became partners in the in the film company as well. So then I started having to do that a little bit, go out and make presentations, do all that kind of stuff in the film company, then go out and, join networking groups and all that in the marketing company. And so, it was a lot of changes on that, going from an introvert who loves to spend all his time in the back room doing all the strategies, creating all the stuff, and then letting the people who are good at that, be the face, to then having to be the face of everything. And then, from there, now I'm a city council member. And so, guess what you do? You sit and you are the liaison, you're the face of the city. So whenever someone has an issue, guess who they call? If there's an event that the city wants to support, guess who's supposed to show up? So and then of course campaigning is just marketing yourself, putting yourself out there and stuff. So, so that was probably the biggest block that I had to kind of get around was breaking free from my introvertedness and put myself out there and actually become the face of everything, which does not come natural to me.
And I feel like with a lot of us, the things that we hide from are probably the things that we're the best at. And we purposely hide because we're afraid to kind of maybe get out there or be exposed, but we're going to be good at it. And it's almost like we have to push ourselves to get there. So what actually flipped, or what did you have to do differently in your mind to get to that space?
I mean, a lot of it was just realizing the commitment and knowing that it's not just me. Like I had a team at that point and everything. And so I had to do it not just for myself, but for my family and for my team. So I had to learn, I just had to have the dedication, the wherewithal to just make the change in myself, And so I think the motivation was there. And so it really just took me going out, starting small, joining the Chamber of Commerce and some of those kinds of organizations and going to their networking meetings, even though I don't like networking. But you get used to it. And then all of a sudden you started kind of having your own little crowd there, like people that you knew. And then it didn't feel as much like, weird salesy networking. It was more, now you get to see some of your old friends. And so that really helped a lot. But then doing that and then become, just everything you do, making more marketing presentations, film presentations, investor presentations, all these different things, I think you kind of just get used to it.
Well, and I heard you say you went outside of yourself. You did it for other people and to build your business and to get to the next level. And you kind of had to take yourself out of that. And I'm doing it for X, Y, and Z, right?
Right. I think that's it. Like if you're just doing it for your own self-gain and stuff like that, it probably isn't quite as powerful of a motivator. At least it isn't for me.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Maybe some people it is, but not for me either.
I know. I know that you sitting in that chair right now is you doing the exact same thing.
Yes. Out of force by you. Yeah. Right. And if people don't know, you're my marketing team.
Yep.
And I feel like you have had to do that with me too, is push me to, hey, you need to do this. And why aren't you doing this?
Sorry, Lauren, you got to be the face. This is your idea, your child. You got to.
Yes. And you were able to push me to do that because you were doing it yourself. And I feel like that's where people can have the biggest influence on others. And that's why a community is so important of people. And that's why the Film Hub is so important because, we are all together working in this space, doing our own businesses or our own thing half the time, but we have that support and someone can just walk up to you and be like, hey, why aren't you doing this? What's holding you back? And you can really get down to the fear of what's holding you back.
Yeah. I mean, and I would say if just on on that, like, I don't think Star Fox Media would be what it is today if it wasn't for being in here. Right. Because when I came in here, it was just me and my partner, and it was just the two of us. And, everyone else who's joined the company since then on the team, I've met because of this building, right? So we would not have our photographer, videographer. We would not have our wonderful podcast producer. We wouldn't have, our graphic web designer. All of them were were here at the Film Hub for one reason or another, either previous members or friends of other people in the hub. And so the community really is where the company came from. So, yeah.
So breaking fears and getting us out of our comfort zones and having that community support makes it a lot less scary.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, you can see other people doing it and it motivates you to do it too.
Yep, for sure. So what are the areas in your life that you've had to really grow and develop outside of that aspect?
Outside of
And
that
you can
aspect.
do personal or business.
Okay. Relying on other people. It's you in the film company, I got into marketing because at the film company I ended up taking marketing clients in between films. And so it was just me, myself, right? So I'd bring a camera somewhere, make a video, make a website, handle some of the social media, do something kind of in between. And so it was just me. And so that made it so I knew what was going on. I knew what had to be done. I was the one in communication with the customer, like all the way straight through, so there was like, it made it really simple and straightforward. But, eventually you want to build a team of people that are more talented than you at everything, which I'm blessed to say that I was able to do. And so, now we have a videographer that's way better than me, a website designer that's way better than me, a writer, social media marketer that's way better than me. And, and a podcast producer that's way better than me. I keep giving him shout outs because he's in the other room. And so, that made it so, the quality of work went way up. But now, I'm still there working with a client, but now I'm having to figure out how to delegate. And when someone asks me to do something, it's hard for me to not just try to go do it. And it's like, wait, no, I'm not the best person at this job. I need to let go. That's really hard to do. It's really hard to do.
And it's trust, right? Because the reason why we can't let go and we don't want to trust people is because we've been through the failure of it. We've been through the disappointment of it, people not following through with what they were. And I think we've all gone through that. And that's why you get to that space where you're like, I'm going to do it all myself because I can trust myself and I can't trust anyone else. And that's another mindset that we have to break.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I'm also one of those people that's like mass efficiency. And so it's like, it'll take me just as long to tell them how to do it as it would just do it myself. But then I have to realize, but the product will be better if I let go, if I spend that time and
Yes.
And that's just what has to happen.
You have to take the time to train.
Yeah.
And when you're busy, that's hard.
It is. Absolutely. Yes.
But eventually, if you take the time, you'll develop such amazing staff members and employees like we have.
Yeah. We're blessed.
Yeah. And I've gone through that aspect of it.
Right.
And I'm so blessed with the team that I have now. But it was a lot to let go. It's let go of control.
Yeah, absolutely. And whether it's for fear or, just efficiency reasons, but you need to do it. You can't scale if it's just you.
Nope. And if you can't let that go, you will not scale.
Right.
And you will stay in that space until you can have the capacity to move forward.
And you'll probably just do a mediocre job at everything. Instead of concentrating on what you're good at, what your role is.
Yes. Because I feel like that's as leaders, running our companies, as we get such a unique opportunity to really see our staff in an amazing way where we can encourage them to get inspired and to dive into the things that they're really good at. And we get the opportunity to do that and develop it so great. I mean, my staff is so amazing at the things that they've done and the areas that they've developed in. And I just no, you're great at that. You're going to keep going with that, and they've far surpassed what my expectation was. And I'm sure you've experienced that as well.
Absolutely. And it's also nice because when we're doing some expansion or hiring new people, I really like to go to my current staff and be like, what are the things you really like to do? And what are the things that you don't necessarily like to do? Why don't we find someone to do those things?
Yes.
And so you can kind of expand people into their, like what they specialize in, what they want to do, and find people who just want to do the thing that you're looking for. And then it's like, wow, everyone's happier.
Yeah.
So that's the goal. I try to do that way. It doesn't always work that way, but that's definitely the goal.
Yeah, definitely. So where in your life, I know there was a period of time where finances got really tight, and a lot of us don't talk about those things. And we all fall into those pit holes of, the business getting super tight. Oh my gosh, at the beginning few years, I remember just like when am I ever going to get paid? Like, when am I going to pay myself? Finally, like all this work you're putting into it and like the financial struggles that you go to in your personal life and the business like how have you dealt with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually something that I'm kind of dealing with again right now. So basically, there was, I was struggling with that right when the business opened, of course, trying to build that first like client base and everything like that, and get it to where you're profitable. I was finally getting there, and then I had this great idea to run for city council. And so, as the only person in the company that was the face that was supposed to be out there, like, finding clients and stuff like that, I kind of fell off on that. I had too many hats on. And so, I feel like, just the natural progression of like turnover that you have, like usually we're pretty good at keeping up. We keep clients for a really long time usually. But you always have a little bit of turnover here and there. And so we were having the natural turnover like we always do, but I wasn't there to replace them with new clients. And so, we end up getting back down. And by the end of, the race for city council, I was putting so much time into that, and concentrating on 100% that, it kind of got back down into that situation where, struggling to pay the employees more or less myself, so putting a lot of your own money back into the company again and stuff like that, which is tough. But I feel like I'm getting comfortable on council now, and I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I think that's, you have to know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that, that if, as long as you believe in your business model, you think it'll work, as long as you keep going in a positive forward direction, the tunnel can only be so long.
Yeah. So on a personal side, like your beautiful wife, Mina, how did you navigate that with her? Because that puts pressure on outside of business stuff.
Right. Well, luckily she's been really supportive, and she's a very supportive wife. And so, she's gotten work, so she went out and got a job, and, she has her own company. So she's a fashion designer and runs her own brand. And so, she found a job where that was part-time so she could still do that. And, luckily city council has a basically minimum wage pay. So we kind of scrape by with what we got with that, while we can still both pursue our passions and, try to actually, succeed at the things we want to do, rather than, something that we necessarily don't want to do. So, we're still in it. And she was flexible. She decided to support me in my race. She was out there knocking on doors with me, even though she's a worse introvert than I am. So getting her out there at events and everything like that, you could really see how supportive she was. And, and when it came to finances, she knew that we had to save, that we had to, cut where we could and stuff. And she was very supportive in that as well. So, luckily it's, you're a team, and so it was, and she was a really good teammate.
Yeah. You have a good teammate, you can get through a lot of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, it definitely affects and that's where people say, oh, it's separate. It's only business and, keep it out of person. I will argue against that every day because everything affects each other, right?
Whether it's your mood, your finances, or so many things that you take home with you, you know what I mean? Or your work-life balance.
Yes.
If I'm working 3 times as hard to try to make up on the clients, well, guess where that time comes from, right? So no, there's no way to keep them completely separate. You can try, but you will fail.
Yep. So how do you balance that work-life area?
Poorly? No.
I feel like we all feel like that.
No, I think, it's a lot of just making sure that we have dedicated time for each thing.
Yeah.
And so, I try to make sure that we have at least, a date night every week, and that becomes a priority. It's on the calendar, and whether it's the same night every week or it rotates around, I know her schedule. And so we can, I can find which day, I have to do this event for the city. I have to do this. I have to do that. So this day will be our day this week, and we can kind of, she's got the flexibility where she's cool with that. And, but the goal is to have at least one of those days a week. We have, we do a lot of meal prep these days. And so we'll spend a whole day in the kitchen together, just meal prepping and stuff. She has a late start for work. And so we're able to kind of hang out in the morning. I'm able to be a little bit flexible on my morning schedule a lot of times. And so, I'll get up early, check my email, do anything that's an emergency, but then I'll take an hour every morning to just hang out. We'll walk the dog, we'll drink some coffee in the living room, to spend an hour together before our days start. So stuff like that, where we're getting a little quality time in the evenings, we're getting a little quality time in the mornings, then we have some dedicated time every week for meal prep, and then also for like just our date nights. So that's how I make sure that, at least, we at least have that.
Yes.
Guaranteed.
Yes. And it's so important because if one aspect of your life is going downhill fast, it kind of starts pulling the rest.
Absolutely.
And you kind of start to go in the spiral, and you have to stop and you have to readjust and fix things, right? Because you can't have, I've got 3 kids. So, if I'm exceeding at the business, but then I'm not doing all I can do for my kids, then I have to find some balance there, or vice versa.
And they say when it rains, it pours, right? And so, of course, when there's something in the business, then you'll have something happen in your personal life, and you'll have something happen over here and something over here. And so it's your, health, whatever, family, like it's just, there's no way that you get out unscathed. It's like one thing goes down and so does everything else at the same time, it feels like.
Yeah. And to keep your health up too, right? Because you have to keep strong and healthy during all of this. And you even dealt with that too at the end of your campaign. Your body just gave out.
Yeah, somehow sleep, is
Yeah,
important.
Sleep's important too.
Yeah, no, that's actually, I make that joke still sometimes is like, it's like, how hard is it to run for office? Like, well, I just campaigned until organ failure,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the joke I've been making.
Yes.
So
You did.
yeah, so you win your race, then you end up in the hospital.
Yeah.
In emergency
Then you're like,
surgery.
okay, I need to rethink this. I need to cut back. Where do I need to balance again? Because we all get in that space. And it's just, if you can't figure out how to correct fast, you get into a really bad position.
And it's probably one of those things where like the adrenaline, like and everything of like and the busyness and all that, all those like chemicals are keeping you up, and then as soon as it's over and you like have a release, then all of a sudden your body's like, you think you got to go through that without negative repercussions from that? No, nothing's going unpunished here.
Yes.
We say, but thank you, body, for saving up until at least I was through that.
Yeah. And then you have to have time to let yourself rest and get rejuvenated again and kind of get reestablished. And that's the part that I always struggle with being a mom, is like, how do I balance always being on all the time? I have to be on here for my clients, for my members, for my staff. I have to go home and be on for my kids, and they're on the evenings and the weekends, and there's no breaks. So it's like you have to make those breaks.
Right, and when you're with them, that you're giving them quality time and not half attention.
Yes,
yeah.
I don't bring my computer home.
Yeah, I leave my laptop here, but I'm on my phone constantly, so it's definitely something that I still struggle with.
Yeah, and it's something I feel like we're always constantly fighting with, but we have to develop those healthy things, especially in the film industry.
Yeah,
there's no boundaries.
Yeah, for sure. There's no boundaries. You get last minute stuff, ridiculously long days when it's shoot time. There's a lot of weird hours, nights, weekends, all kinds of stuff. And
yes.
It kind of seems like that's kind of the case with all my industries these days.
Yeah. And you have to develop those healthy boundaries. I don't think I knew really what healthy boundaries were. And you get to a point of total breakdown where then you're forced to figure it out.
Yeah, and it'd be so much better if we didn't wait so long.
It
That's
wouldn't.
Really not how that works, huh?
Yeah. Because I don't think you change your habits and the things that really happen that take you out until you get to that breaking point, even though you listen to people sometimes and they're like, well, what are you doing for you? Or what are you doing for this?
But that's really great advice. I'll let future Lauren handle that situation.
Yeah, but it's like if we could just listen and make the adjustments and not get to that point, how much it would change. And hopefully from people listening to things like this and other things that they can do that and not repeat our mistakes.
Right. Maintenance is always easier than fixing something that's broken.
Yes. So do it. What ignites you? Where did you find your passion? And where do you think your superpower is?
I think for me, I think service is really important, and so servicing, like being of service to my community, being useful, I think is something that, that I'm passionate about, is like what gets me up in the morning. And so, I think I got to see that really well in my dad. growing up, we were a Little League family. We were like active in church. We were Cub Scouts. We were that, and my mom as well. She was a Cub Scout leader and all that. And then my dad would always go on the camping trip. So we got Little League, and he did Optimist Club and helped build the Little League fields, helped construct the new church, like this kind of stuff, and, you don't realize it when you're young, but as a general contractor, he's going to job sites at 4 a.m., and then coming home and then on weekends doing more construction for free,
Yeah.
And so you see a lot of that kind of stuff growing up. He coached all of our teams, like all that kind of stuff. So I think I had really good role models, that taught me the importance of, serving your community and serving. So, first you have to serve your family and then you can serve your community, right? And so you try to kind of work outwards, but I think that's why I think I said it was so much more motivating, for the external motivation factors of trying to make sure, I have a team, I have this, I got to do it for not just myself. And so, that service mindset of, it's not, I'm not in it for me. I want my team to get paid before will always get paid before I do, if I have, any energy left, it's going to the community.
So who taught you serve your family first and the community next?
I actually have no idea. I think that was something where, I think it was something I just kind of was thinking about, and how to kind of a logical progression is that it's hard to serve your community unless you have a stable life at home, right? And it's hard to do that unless you're stable yourself. And so you want to start with making sure that you're taken care of, that you have the energy to do the rest, serve your family, then your close community, and then your community at large, and then you can, talk about saving the world. But
yeah. It's crazy because I didn't have that realization, and I did it backwards for a long time.
Yeah.
And it depletes you.
Yeah.
And then you're always serving out of an empty cup.
Yeah. And that's exactly that's a really good metaphor for it. You can't serve out of an empty cup. And so, you have to make sure that you have something left to give.
Yeah.
No, I could definitely see that. That's something that, I struggled with in the past. And I think that, when you get burnout and stuff like that, it's usually that's a sign that your priorities are backwards.
Yep.
So, and it's not always as simple as just you need a self-care day, or something like that. It's usually
It's deeper than that.
It's an entire mindset change. So, it's those little breaks can always be good, but they're not they're not enough, because you'll get right back into the same swing of things. It'll extend your your time that you can work a week, and then you have the same problem again. That's not a long-term change.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
making sure I have enough sleep, making sure I have enough all those kinds of things, take care of myself so that I can take care of my family, so that I can take care of my community.
Yeah. And I had to actually see a therapist for this, and that's how hard it is to change that mindset on that category, because I had it completely backwards and I could not get out of that space. I couldn't break that barrier. And it was no, I just need to keep serving and I need to keep giving and it'll come. It will not come.
Right.
And like you said, I would go back into those old patterns again, and I would just be there all over again. So it was 3 years ago, I was okay, I need to fix this. This is bad and it's affecting everything I do.
Well, you're saying the maintenance didn't work. You had to wait for it to break to fix it?
Yes. There you go.
I don't know.
So those things are so huge and so important. And I feel that's the important part of the community too, right? Is we can kind of help. And that's why I was well, where did you learn that from? Because that's where we get to help each other.
Yeah, I got super lucky, I think, that I didn't have to have it break to kind of see that one. I don't know if I witnessed it somewhere else or if I heard it on a TV show or whatever, but it was something I had thought about. And I was and it made logical sense to me, and so, and I liked it. I'm one of those people that overthinks everything. I like philosophy and all that kind of weird stuff. And so, I probably do read all kinds of weird books and, so it probably got it from somewhere.
Yeah.
There's no original thoughts, right? No.
Yeah, that's true. So where was the moment in your life that it completely shifted and changed into the path that you're really on right now, where you found you did find your purpose?
I think I mean, I think there's probably a big shift that happened recently that kind of affected everyone, which was the wonderful COVID shutdown. Um, I was pretty happy with working for the film production company. I was comfortable. I liked what I did. I was passionate about it, and I thought and I found like it's very fulfilling, right? But I didn't really understand, I think, why it was fulfilling, and I didn't really get to the core of why I thought it was so awesome. And so what ended up happening was late 2019, my business partner, who is, a retired corporate finance attorney, he was like 70 something years old at the time, and so he was already like, at the point where, I don't know if he's going to retire, if he's going to want to stick around this too long, but then he moved to Las Vegas. And so I was sitting there thinking, like, this film production company, half of our clients are here because of like film finance parts, and he's the finance attorney and I'm the marketing guy. So if I lose that half of it, like, does this still work? Does this still make sense? And so because of that, that's kind of why I started Star Fox Media, was like, well, let's maybe start something where, if the film production still is up and running, it's successful, and it's still doing everything it needs to do, then I'll just have a team over here where every film, we can do the website, we can do the marketing, we can create our own pitch decks, the little movie posters, we can create all the assets we need for it that, usually we outsource for. And it'll just be something that can augment that. If we need to do some edits for like some sizzle reels, if we want to do some podcasts or something like that about like, the thing to kind of hype it up to investors and things like that. Like we'll just be able to be like an auxiliary unit to the film production company we already have. And we'll have a creative team. So if we need to do some pickup shots and behind the scenes shoots, we can do all that kind of stuff. So I thought about it that way, but then I thought, but if the film company doesn't work out, well, I've already been taking on individual marketing clients for the last few years, like in between. So I'll focus on helping local small businesses. And so really it was like, oh, I'll like it because I'm one of those people that loves problem solving. And so like, I love seeing like, working with a business, seeing the problem and trying to fix it. And so I was like, oh, it'll be problem solving again. That's all it is and stuff. And so I think when I started it, that was kind of where it was at. Then COVID hit and the entire film industry shut down. So it was illegal to make a film. Yeah. And so raising money for films was very difficult, and doing marketing for films that didn't exist was also very difficult. So, it kind of forced us to reevaluate very quickly. So we've officially formed Star Fox Media in January of 2020, and the shutdown was in March. So we had 2 months of business before we had to completely change our model. So, we ended up like, digging in and focusing on local small businesses. And I realized that, that whole part of like helping the local community, the small business owners are the people that make our city awesome. Like the city is cool, like the stuff like that, there's the parks, all that stuff, they're cool, right? But the fact but you don't go to a town to, necessarily to you see their park or their whatever. Usually you're going because they have a cool restaurant, they have a cool venue, they have a cool something that's like the entertainment, the backbone of that area. And so, getting to work with all these different things and help them be successful and basically create a more awesome community, I was like, I really like this. This is so much fun. And so I think that's where it turned from me having that kind of inner focused, like introspective, like I like problem solving, and so I'll enjoy the work, to I also enjoy the reason for the work. And I think that's where you got kind of that like that spark where it was all of a sudden, became a passion rather than just something I enjoyed. So I think that's probably what it was. Yeah.
And do you feel like you get a little bit of that passion comes out as city council as well? Because it's kind of similar, right?
And that's why, and that was definitely on my mind when, I was asked to run, and I thought about that, and I was like, I'm looking for ways. It was just happened to hit me. I was asked right at the same time as I was looking for ways to get more involved in the community. At the company, the team expanded to a point where all my job was to go out and, find clients and all that kind of stuff and be like the face. And so it freed me up a lot of time where, I could be more involved in the community. So I was joining like nonprofit boards. I was just trying to get more involved and, have some give back kind of stuff. Right when I got asked, I was like, well, that's a little bit more than I was planning on doing, a little bit bigger of a jump than I was planning on taking, but it just happened to like I sat there thinking about it, I was like, it fits right in my passion of serving my community. It's right what I'm trying to do right now. Campaigning is basically, it's a combination of marketing yourself. I'm a marketing professional, and and raising money to run your campaign and stuff. Well, I raise money for film projects and things like that. So I'm like,
You're like, this is kind of easy.
I might actually be like, kind of set up to like, this might be a calling, it might just be something that I'm meant to do, and it kind of felt like it was more ordained, right? Where it was like, it was if it checked too many boxes, like it made too much sense, where I was just like, the timing, all of that, where I was just like, I think this is something that was meant to be,
And I feel like when you're in your purpose, it is easy. And, I've had that question, like, was the film hub? Yeah, it was hard, but it didn't drain me like that.
Right.
And where I had no passion left. Like, you're like, no, everything has fallen into place that I've need.
Yeah.
And it all kind of gathered up every aspects that I've ever had to apply or had to develop. It all came together. And then when your purpose and it's the timing, right?
The
it all
culmination.
opens up.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, this is doable. And that's why I feel like for some of us, when we find our purpose, we do finally go out there and do it because it does feel doable. And people ask me like all the time, well, weren't you afraid? And I was like, no.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it.
No.
I didn't have time to think about that. It was like, it just felt like it's meant to be. Of course I need to do this.
Yes.
And like, if it doesn't work out, like, that's not even really on my mind. It's like, we're going to make it work out.
Yeah. Yes. And for me, it was my faith knowing that everything was so divine. I knew who had my back in the whole situation. And when you have that, there's no chance of fear, right? There's no, because you're like, I know who has my back.
Yep, absolutely.
And he's laid it out for me.
Yeah, that's definitely how it felt, almost exactly. And so, like, I think it's rare, I feel like, you have those moments in your life, but when you do, you have to seize them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, if it feels like it's fitting that well, like, you have to listen.
Yes. And not that fear can't be wrapped up in that.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was periods of time where I felt afraid. But in the initial moment, it was almost like oh yeah, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
It's just ease. I don't know.
Yeah, I threw my name in the hat, and as a council member that was the previous council member, and when he mentioned that it would, like, I'd be interesting if, like, I bet he thought I'd be a good fit for it. Like, well, run it by the mayor, and if you both think I'm the right person for it, then I'll run. And then they called me back a week later, like, yeah, I ran it by him, and he thought you'd be a good. And I was like, it was almost like, damn it.
You were like, I was hoping.
Yeah, like, well,
this is a lot of work.
Yeah, just, like, but in that entire time, there was no, like, there was no hesitation until it was like, oh, it's real.
You're like, oh crap, now I got to do the work to
like,
actually do this.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the decision is almost easy.
Yeah, the decision was easy, and then looking back, you're like, why did I do that again?
Yeah, exactly.
Always have those moments, but yeah, when you hear the calling, you have to listen.
Yes, you do, and sometimes it's good we don't know the amount of work that comes with it, because then we might not want to do it.
True. Yeah, commit, figure it out later. Yeah.
And I think sometimes that's hidden from us.
I know that's probably not good advice on a grand scale, but it's funny advice, and it worked out for both of us. So
I was like, I don't know. Yeah, don't listen to that, but it worked out that way. All right. Well, how does the Film Hub and its community help you really be successful?
Well, I mean, like I said earlier, like this, I mean, the whole company was basically born out of having this available. It's the people here were like core community members, like right from the beginning. I basically created a partnership with the videographer that had the office right across from mine, so, and instead of doing the videography myself, we did a partnership. And so now he was our videographer. And then one of the people that was, I think, here during one of your marketing shoots or something like that, just to, help promote the venue and everything like that here, probably for free, volunteering just to help out. She ended up interning with us, and now she's our videographer now. And Our graphic designer, when I moved downstairs, had the office right across from us. So we were hanging out and like, we need someone to do that. Why don't we join forces? And so like the whole thing sprung out of meeting other people. This like
Wow.
we also produce a dozen podcasts out of here or so. And my our partner in the podcast network, also office in the building, passion for podcasting, and we had the technical team, and so we partnered up. So all these things come out of this community, right? Is none of these things would exist without the building, none of them. Like, and so it's the community, and then of course as a marketer, I mean, having a place where we can do all of our content and stuff like that makes it really easy.
Yeah.
Right? And so not having to do things on location, being able to do stuff, carry our cameras 30 feet to the podcast room makes it really affordable, which we get to pass on to clients, which makes it so now this mom and pop shop can actually afford to do video marketing, which maybe they couldn't have before. And so there's all these like, trickle down effects that like just having the facility, we're able to do this, which makes it more affordable for them to have this. Now they can do this, maybe their business will be more successful. And it just like ends up being like a net asset for the whole community. So
Yeah.
the whole area. So I think that's why it's like, there's so many ways that this place affects our business, whether it's the community, the facility, just the partnerships, all that stuff. So
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing that really makes an impact for me, having, all of these professional industries and entrepreneurs and business owners, is I get to walk up to any one of you if I'm struggling with something in the business that I know that, you guys are an expert in, and say like, hey, can I run a few things by you?
Yeah.
And just so much support in that category. I feel like things become not so hard anymore because you have experts around you that understand those struggles in the business.
One really good example is that, I mean, we started the mastermind group out of here, right? And so like one of the events here in the building, we do a mastermind of business owners that all get together, and we all can bring up ideas, that issues we're facing, and run them by other business owners that might have faced something similar, and be able to tell you how they got through it, right? And so like that's just one. I also run a marketing class out of here where we can teach people that can come in and content and clicks. We'll name drop a couple of the the Film Hub Mastermind and Content and Clicks, the two of the events that that we put on in here with you as in that partnership. And so we're able to teach people marketing. So if they maybe can't afford to hire a marketing company and they're doing it themselves, like, well, they can maybe just be a little bit more effective at it, right? And have that kind of marketing strategy, knowledge, background when they're going into it, so they can be more effective.
Yeah.
And so like there's so many things like that again, like it's the partnerships, it's the community, it's all those things that were born from this building.
Yeah. And the opportunity to give back in that way, because for me, like, my life is so crazy busy, and to have an opportunity to just walk into the other room and to be able to help somebody if I can, it feels like, okay, I still get to serve.
Right.
Even though I don't have time to do it as much as I want to. So I feel like that service, you feel like you can help others out and others can help you, and then you feel important and needed.
Yeah, which, man, makes life worth living.
Yeah, it does. Well, thank you so much, Jeff. It's so great to get to do life with all of the entrepreneurs here, but especially you, and to get to, have you as our marketing team, and have you and Mina as such good friends, and to be able to, come to you guys and have deep communication and conversations about business and about life. And it just makes the community here amazing, and friendship amazing.
I completely agree. And even though we've known each other for a long time, it was really fun to get to hear a little bit more, some things that maybe you don't just talk about in passing, right? So we got to dig a little deeper, which was a lot of fun. And I'm excited for future episodes to learn a little bit more about some of the other community members and stuff like that. I'll get to, because, then I'll get to know them a little better too.
Exactly. Because some of them I get to have a lot of conversations with, but others I don't as much. So I'm excited to bring them into this room and really kind of dive in and find out what makes them tick.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you. So if anyone wants to learn more about you and your business, where can they go?
So our website's starfox.media. We have at starfoxmedia, I think underscores in between each on Instagram. But if you check out the website, we have links to all the socials on there and everything like that. So you can check out our YouTubes and Instagrams and Facebooks and all those kinds of fun things from there.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. For more information, please follow us at your favorite social media platforms at The Film Hub Inc. and visit us on our website at thefilmhubinc.com. So if you're ready to bring your vision to life, come try out our space and do your best work here. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time, where we keep inspiring and learning together.
The Film Hub, where creativity meets success.